Hey everyone, in this week's episode I'm talking to Ann Elizabeth Moore from Tinkertown Provisions. We got 2 sauces to try, let's get to it. Hi everybody, welcome to Fire and Flavor. I'm Matt. I'm with Ann Elizabeth Moore from Tinkertown Provisions. How are you today, my friend?
I am great. I'm so excited to be here.
I know, it was very nice to meet you at the Long Island Hot Sauce Festival. That was a lot of fun, and now we get to talk a little longer. So thanks for making some time for me out of your busy life.
Anytime.
So we can hop right into it. What inspired you to start Tinkertown Provisions?
Um, the short version, and I'm not sure what I told you before, but the short version is that a friend who was opening up a second space for his brewery, kind of turned to me one day and said, "I know you've been making hot sauce for a while, so why don't you set that up over at my space?" And I was like, "Yep, we're 2.5 years into the pandemic, like I am feeling it." And so um that was the sort of initial start of this business, but I got started in hot sauce. um and this is the part I'm not sure I told you, like 15 years ago, when I so I'm a writer in my day job, and about 15 years ago I took a meeting with a reasonably famous rapper in Chicago. And in the middle of the what I thought was a meeting, all of a sudden things got like romantic, and I was like, "Oh my god, do I want to date a rapper, like a reasonably famous rapper who's like rumored to be with like supermodels and all sorts of like other like famous pop stars?" And I was completely freaked out. Um and it was Christmas Eve. And so having dinner, and he had me come over and like stir something while I was just like talking about this like experience that I'd had. And by the end of the night, I had fallen in love with the thing I'd been stirring, which was like sriracha, and definitely realized I was probably not in love with the rapper. So that was really the start of my hot sauce making obsession, and I kept doing it. Each of the sriracha shortages led to more and more friends being like, okay, you gotta get on this. Like, I'm
Yeah.
out, you gotta make me some more. Let's make this happen.
Wow. That's a
Yeah.
really, really, really fun and very funny like history for that.
Yeah.
I fell
It's
in love with the
I should
sauce instead. That's
I should I should send him some of the hot sauce, but I don't know.
Why not? You'd be like, look what
Oh,
you
yeah, I don't
started.
know that he likes hot sauce, but I
Oh,
guess figure that out. Yeah.
I I mean, maybe. So you're from the Western Catskills, right?
Well, I live here now, but I grew up in the Midwest, but also kind of traveling the country as well as the world. So the place I paid rent at the longest was Chicago, where I was really based for about 30 years. Although within that, there were about 10 years where I was um, living off and on in Phnom Penh, Cambodia,
Oh, that's cool.
and then spending a lot of time in Vienna and Berlin and the Republic of Georgia. So for about 10 years, it didn't feel like I had a home, which was fine at the time. And then later I was like, oh, this isn't actually very fun anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it's really cool though. I mean, you get to see the whole world and it's a very humbling experience. I think that everyone should travel outside the country or at least across our own country. You see a lot of differences wherever you are.
I
Yeah.
completely agree. And I think what it did was it gave me a really wide and expansive palette.
Hmm.
And it's amazing how often I tap into like a Cambodian sense of spice, which is pretty mild,
Hmm.
to a Georgian sense of spice, which is extremely mild, to, something like Nicaragua's sense of spice, which is very exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you do have a wide variety of flavors, and you don't only just do hot sauce, you do other products too, right?
Well, mostly, I mean, I do merch, but most of the sauces that I produce sort of sit on the continuum of hot sauce to like barbecue-ish
Mhm.
texture sauce. Um, but they're all, legally, I got to put the term hot sauce on them because that's what the FDA requires, I guess.
Well, that's fair. And
Yeah.
so how does like how do the flavors you craft reflect like, your travels and not only your travels, but where you are now and the local growers? Because you get a lot of stuff locally sourced, right? If I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
Yeah. And I'm trying to more and more push everything toward local growers. And so um, I'm trying to dehydrate more stuff. I'm trying to find different ways of preserving things because the problem with working with local growers has nothing to do with local growers who are amazing, like in every instance, but in the fact that you within a like 6 week window, especially in the Western Catskills, you get every single pepper you're going to be able to use for the
Right.
next year. Um, so so pretty often my growers will come up with like a pepper obsession, or they'll run an ingredient by me, or they'll mention like something that's really fun to grow, which of course is a good excuse to invent a hot sauce for it.
Of course.
Um and my the most beloved sauce, um, which is also, I guess, the sauce that I have received the most like threats to my personal safety over not having in house anymore,
Whoa.
is called or, and it's made with um the Bulgarian carrot pepper,
Oh,
which is a teeny little pepper that looks just like a carrot. That was entirely suggested by one of my growers. Not the sauce, but using the carrot, and using the carrot pepper. And so, that then once, the sort of base ingredient, which is usually the pepper, gets sorted out, then it becomes a question of like how I, invent a sauce to go around it.
but you kind of like get your pepper and your ingredients and be like, all right, how can I make this work? I like that. And I like that you use the funky types of peppers too. I have seen Bulgarian carrots. They're very, very pretty. It almost looks like a miniature orange jalapeno, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they're much more uniform, I think, than jalapenos, but
Yes.
really they're like the cutest pepper, I think. If I had to judge a beauty contest of peppers, I think carrot pepper would get the big prize.
So would you say that's your like top seller? You're saying people are like pardon me, threatening you over this
I
hot
mean, they just,
sauce?
yeah, they love it.
Oh wow.
And it's, I've really only like it hasn't gone through any of the formal approval processes yet. So people have just like tasted it at friends' houses, or like, I've made weird sample batches. Um, but the crop didn't come in last year. And so, I mean, the Western Catskills gets very little sun. There's barely enough time in the season to actually grow peppers. So it is asking a lot of my growers to concentrate um, on pepper production. Um, but you know, I was hoping to like make a batch last year and get it approved and all that legal stuff. Um, but I didn't, and so in the last year, I've gotten a lot of questions,
Oh, I bet. I bet.
harshly worded.
Oh, no. That's so sad, but it's at least it's I don't know, there's like a flip to that coin where it's like, it's nice that people like something you created that much, but man, tone it down, guys. Holy crap. That's
You know
crazy.
how people get about hot sauce.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. They have
Yeah,
festivals for it, and then people like me
heck,
go
they do.
around like a psycho filming everyone I talk to.
Yeah,
So you avoid allergens as much as you can, right? Gluten,
I
soy,
do.
dairy, processed sugars. How does that shape your ingredient choices in your process? Is it difficult to maneuver around that? Not really so much for hot sauce, but some things, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's so that comes out of, I mean, my interest in just being creating as accessible foods as possible, being accessible in sort of a like an interpersonal way, and really
Mhm.
like relying on friendships um and relationships to build the company in a formal way, but also in terms of like how I get the peppers and how I think of sauces and how I come up with ingredients, which to me is a central reason to limit allergens as much as possible. So as many people can enjoy them as possible. And this is sort of a contested question in food production, unfortunately. But yeah, so no gluten, no soy, no dairy, which is fine in hot sauce, but no tomatoes. And then I really limit other nightshades as well. Um, so we'll never use anything like eggplant, but that also means like no bell peppers, no
Right.
kind of filler peppers. Um, and then, and I should say no nightshades except for like hot peppers, which
Yeah.
the capsaicin does something. Do you know about this? It
No,
like counteracts the inflammatory effects of nightshades.
I had
So
no idea.
yeah, so it's actually like, yeah, it's one of those things like eating celery where it's like better for you to do than what you're consuming.
Right, right. Oh, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, so peppers are kind of magical, which isn't what you asked me.
It's not, but I'll take it. I like it.
Okay.
No, no,
What?
because it could, nightshade's still kind of an allergen. Some people can't handle it. But I didn't know that. That's a really cool fact that it kind of reverses the effect almost. It just like
Yeah.
negates it. I didn't know that. And it's funny because like I didn't realize how many things, that actually are nightshades, like tomatoes I knew, eggplants I recently found out, and potatoes. Some people say, "Aren't potatoes tubers?" I'm like,
No,
They're nightshades." Like you can actually people graft potatoes to tomato plants, and they have the pomato. Have you heard of this?
no, that's
S
super interesting, but
Yeah.
that would, yeah.
Yeah, so they graft the top part of the tomato plant to the potato plant, and the bottom grows all the potatoes underground, and then the top's growing, tomatoes, so you have 2
That's
plants in
super
1. I
interesting.
wondered if you could do that with peppers. Probably not, but, I mean, that's pretty
We're
cool.
trying. Why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah, why not? I wouldn't
I
use it
also
with, like,
found
a
out that
special.
there's a strain of gooseberry that's a
Oh.
nightshade.
Oh, really?
Very sad to me because I love gooseberries. But there's a strain of gooseberry that is not a nightshade. Like sweet potatoes are
Mm.
not a nightshade.
Oh, fascinating.
So yeah, it's got to
Now
be careful with those nightshades.
now do you do this? Because sorry, if it's personal, are you allergic to nightshade yourself?
I am. I'm allergic to a lot of foods. And I have been for uh 10, 12, 15 years
Oh, wow.
maybe. And so um I definitely didn't know how to cook before I developed all these allergies. And something about the fact that like there aren't a ton of restaurants I can go to, especially around here, that really are allergen free. And forcing myself to learn food science enough that I can work around them, and then knowing that stuff well enough to experiment with it is definitely um where my hot sauce comes out of. Oh, that very loud, annoying noise will end soon, I think.
I can't even hear it,
Oh,
honestly. No,
perfect.
we're doing great. We're doing great.
Wonderful.
Um, so you mostly craft small batch, right? Or all. So what does that mean in practice for your production process? What's that like? Is it, you know?
Well, I work with a lot of beer brewers,
Mhm.
and one of the beer brewers is also a cider maker. And so we have a big room where we just like ferment stuff. And within that, I have, two stainless steel tables. Like there's a freezer, there's a storage shelf. It's a pretty tiny setup. So I have like one cooktop and then like two stainless steel tubs that I cook in. And everything is really small scale right now. I'm about to have to kind of double production on everything across the board just to meet current demand, which is fine. People have done this before. I'm sure I'll survive the experience, um, but I am definitely learning as I hit the upper limits of what I can do with my like space and time.
Mhm.
On top of which, yeah, I have this entirely different career. I am a writer. I'm trying to finish a novel. And so using these, I mean, it takes a totally different part of the brain. So so trying to get through a day sometimes is like really just like a self-hypnotizing problem. Um, but yeah, so there's a big rack where I put everything to kind of rest and ferment and prepare itself emotionally for my cooking. And then, a bunch of blenders go through the blending process. And
Mhm.
then we go through the cooking process. And then I hand bottle everything and stick the labels on it that I have designed myself. And yeah, it's really just a lot of Anne in there.
I do. I like your labels though. They're pretty like simplistic, but it has. I'll actually just put one in front of the camera real quick. So every bottle essentially looks like this. I'm holding up Rain from Tinkertown Provisions. It has
Mhm.
this nice house in the background. Sorry, my camera is actually following me. But every sauce, I also have Haze on hand, has the name in a boldface font, and it is color coded to the feel and the personality of the sauce. Very, very cool. Very
That
cool.
is a great way of describing it. Thank you.
Thank you. I also wanted to know you use pretty simple ingredients in here. Um, how do you balance flavor complexity with these minimal ingredients? And I have
uh,
a follow-up question after too, actually, but we'll get to that in a minute. But I just wanted to know, like, you use stuff like plums, and I think there's only like 5 or 6 ingredients in this hot sauce alone, Rain.
yeah, I mean, keeping it simple is really important to me, partially because I'm so scatterbrained that if there's too many ingredients, then I'll forget one of them. But also, you know, I this part of the world is really, I think I had mentioned this to you before, but it's really known for dairy production. And during the 1863 World's Fair, which took place in Chicago, like this part of the world took something like 70% of the prizes for butter and other dairy products that were on offer. Um, and 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 what that means to me is that there's something really subtle about the way that this landscape, it's hills, it's gorgeous, Catskill Mountains, hiking. You can probably see some kind of beauty behind me over here. Um, and so the stuff that grows here is incredibly delicious without any intervention. And if I could just like make that available to people and somehow that would be a job, I would totally do that. But it's easier to like put it into a sauce that you can kind of package and send out all over the world, um, than just like trying to preserve the unique tastes of local peppers and send them to people before they go bad. So, so relying on the just richness and fullness of these locally grown ingredients is primary. So once we start getting too many ingredients, then you kind of dirty the flavor, and that's my least favorite thing in hot sauce is like if you're putting like sometimes it's like any spice or definitely like more than one spice, then it just feels like you've muddied something to me. I'll eat it, no problem, but it's not what I want to spend my time creating.
Right.
So yeah, so reducing down the flavors that are bad and bringing forth the flavors that are good and locally fostered, um, is like, yeah, the thing that I spend most of my days thinking about.
I like that. Yeah, and you know what? Yeah, there's definitely some sauces that have like 20 something ingredients, and they are what they are in the bottle. You can read everything, but it's like, why do you could just achieve this with maybe like 5 or 10 of these ingredients, like,
Yeah,
you get the same flavor. But you know what? To some people, it's just the art of the craft, and I
completely.
respect that big time because some people make really, really small batches, probably like 60 bottles at a time, and they just like put all the stuff in it. But I'm sure they'd have to change their mind if they scaled up a lot.
Yeah, that's probably another good point is, scaling up. I didn't make any decisions based on the intention of scaling up,
Mhm.
um, because I had no idea if any of this would fly whatsoever, but, like, that's where the rubber meets the road, right? Where you're
Right,
just
right.
like, "Okay, I need 6 pounds of this thing.
Yeah,
So let's keep as few things that I need that much volume for
right.
to a minimum as possible."
And that leads me to a question I kind of wanted to go back to a little bit. You were
Yeah.
talking about you had to like up your production. What is a day of production like for you really? I mean, like how many sauces do you make at a time? Are you making one sauce at a time and you come back in like a couple of weeks or whatever, make more, or what's that like for you?
Yeah, it's gotten to the point where I, have 1 or 2, sometimes 3 sauces going every single day, so that when I come into the shop, I'm, you know, cooking one, I'm prepping another, I'm labeling a third, and then if I get time, I'm cooking a second batch. And that's just it's a lot,
Mhm.
and also because of my scatterbrain nature, it also just feels nutty. Um, but that's, kind of the nature of the beast right now. In order to meet demand, that's kind of what it takes. One of the problems I think with this local community, who is completely amazing in all ways, is that, as dairy people, there hasn't been any interest in hot sauce here at all. And so I spent the first year of this business like building up even the idea that you would use hot sauce for anything. And that took a long time and it took very diligent effort. And now that it's caught on a little bit, everybody wants it, which is great, completely amazing. Love it. Success. But it also means that, like, I have to make enough hot sauce to feed, you know, a county of 45,000 people, and I need to, like, have done that yesterday.
That's
Uh,
crazy.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, um, yeah, did I even answer your question?
No, you did. You
Okay, good.
did. Yeah, you just have to make more. I get that. I'm a little scatterbrained too. But no, you pretty much answered it. How many bottles do you have to make at a time though?
Well, it depends on, uh I mean, I did a bunch of stupid stuff when I was first getting sauces approved, and one of them was that I built the recipes on how much of that primary ingredient I could get my hands on at a time, and not on things like how much a batch would make. So my batches run between, you know, um, 2 dozen to, like, 5 dozen bottles of sort of standard 5-ounce woozies, and then, to kind of even that out, I will make like, 2 to 3 batches of certain things. Um, and, uh, and then, then there's kind of the delay of like hand labeling everything and like, stamping everything. I mean, everybody goes through this, but like the batch numbering and all this stuff, it's just like another step in the process. It's just so time consuming, which I guess is what I wanted when I started doing this, but
Right.
now I'm feeling like I erred.
I think it's one of those like businesses too where people start it out of the hobby and they're like, yeah, I can sell a little bit, and then it starts taking off. They're like, I am not expecting this. I was not expecting this. And now I have this
Yeah,
whole other thing. And I feel like that's kind of how you're feeling at this point where you're like,
I think
oh
that's
no, I don't know. This is a hobby. I actually,
yeah, exactly.
I love your artwork. I actually want to hop back on that. Let me go through my stuff because I have something you gave me on hand and it is hysterical. Oh, here we go. So my camera just totally looked at my computer. There you go. There you go. So you gave me this cutout and oh, it's
Oh,
upside down.
it's on my shirt.
Oh, yeah. See, here we go. And it has all the cuts of the pepper, guys. In case you're wondering where the short loin was on the pepper, the tenderloin, now you know.
Now you know.
And it's funny because you live in Farm County and you kind of like took this whole like I worked in a butcher shop for years. I don't know if I told you this, but I thought
No,
that was very funny.
awesome.
It was like my job out of high school. I'm sure that the guys I worked with would get a huge kick out of this. So I kept it because this is one of my favorite things that I have, honestly. It's so funny.
I
Um,
love it too, but the number of questions that I get about, um, you know, is it factual? And
oh
like,
no.
do I know this? It's very intense. And I had people even yesterday, and that it's been out for like 6 months. People have seen it. Um, but yeah, I have people stopping by all the time. I have a 7-year-old boy who's like, um, his name is Henry, and he will sometimes, when I'm at a farmer's market, he'll sometimes come behind the booth and he'll start talking up the hot sauces or trying to sell them. He's adorable.
Wow.
I really genuinely like love this kid. And I gave him this Cuts of Pepper t-shirt and he memorized it and now he tells people the appropriate cut of pepper for certain like dishes, which is hilarious and amazing and great, but I think he doesn't see that it's a joke.
Yeah, might have to lay that on him at some point, or
Yeah,
he'll
well, we
figure it
have a
out.
talk.
Imagine going to somewhere and being like, "Yeah, I need a pound and a half of habanero lump
Loin.
or whatever." Yeah, like it's so funny. Um, so I have a couple of your sauces on hand, like I mentioned before, and we can talk about them for a second and
Great.
a couple other things. But you have Haze here, and your site describes Haze with poetic lines. How important is storytelling in your product and presentation? Because I feel like I noticed you had a podcast too, and I haven't
Uh,
had a chance to listen to it, but um,
well, the podcast is a totally different
it's a murder
thing.
mystery, right?
It's a murder mystery. It is about my own murder.
Oh wow.
And there are 2 seasons. And, spoiler alert, I am not murdered by the end of the 2nd season. So there may be a 3rd season. Who knows? But it started as sort of investigation into online harassment and some of the other stuff, but it was kind of a joke about getting to know, like a jokey way of getting to know people in this community by more or less kind of asking them like, what happens when you like if you die around here? There's no police force. Like who cares? Like who like literally who is gonna like find that body and what are they gonna do with it?
That's crazy.
So that's the podcast. It's funny. 2nd season did not go as I had planned because we ended up relying on a lot of documents I couldn't get my hands on. And so we'll see what happens in the future. But like I said, I am a writer. Storytelling is maybe not important for me to imbue into things, but I think it gets stuck in there regardless of what I do and how I do it.
Okay.
Um, and each sauce does have like a backstory or a joke or a reference point or a a thing that I use to kind of describe it or talk about it or think about it. And then of course, like once I put the website together, because I've come from the world of books, it was really important to me to like market hot sauce as a literary phenomenon. And
Mhm.
so all of the sauces have blurbs from my, you know, fancy writer friends. Um, and so in some ways, the whole notion of Tinkertown Provisions is a joke about, like, literary culture,
Mhm.
and in some ways, it is an example of literary culture that you don't have to sit and look at.
I like it. Honestly, I liked it coincides. I just wasn't sure if both the podcast and the sauce had something to do with each other, if they tied into each other, and you answered that.
Yeah,
Um, so your brand identity, you support all walks of life, which I really, really appreciate. How does that mission affect what you make for your company? You know, while you support women, non-binary people, and the LGBTQIA plus community and creators.
yeah. Um, I mean, that part of it is the accessibility issue, right?
Mhm.
Like, uh, non-binary, trans folk, queer folk of all, across all, spectrums tend to also be afflicted with a lot of the same food restriction and
Mhm.
allergy problems that I do. And, as a queer person, I'm going to make food that I can eat, but I'm also going to make food that my friends can eat just as a matter of course. Um, but, but the notion of building a company that in some way fundamentally supports um, people that are struggling right now pretty heavily for basic rights, for
100%.
healthcare, for you know body autonomy. That is extremely important to me. And in fact, I would not have turned this into a profit making enterprise unless that had been core. And so, the very first example of that was to start funding an organization that was sort of founded and run by two, I mean, a lot of people, but two friends run it today called Dirt Palace Public Projects. Um, and they run an artist residency and an bed and breakfast in Providence, Rhode Island. And maybe it's weird that, like, it's important to me that there's, like, a link between that physical and kind of fancy space. The house is beautiful. They renovated it themselves by, like, watching YouTube videos. And then hot sauce, right? Which is not a traditionally, like, feminist product. So so the idea of, like, making a particular sauce linked to funding what they want to do in the world is extremely central to how I want to grow this business. And then cats are another big thing,
They
which
love
usually
kitties.
ends up being like we're just like shoveling hot sauce for various fundraising
Mhm.
um, and benefit projects. But, just keeping alive the things that I care about and hang out with, um, should be what we are doing with our money and our time and our energy.
Like, our passions, stuff.
Yeah.
I like that. That was a really good answer. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And to follow up on that, how do you feel that you stand out in which is primarily a cis male dominated area?
Yeah.
I noticed that. I talk to a lot of people, and there's
Yeah.
nothing against it. There's just a lot. I talk to mostly men.
Yeah. Um, and men are fine.
Okay.
Um, but uh, I've worked in a lot of male dominated fields in my life. I started really early. I got my first job as a car mechanic when I was 16. And then I was a house painter for a long time in the Midwest. And then I worked in comics, which is insanely male dominated. And
Mhm.
especially at the time when I started in the 1990s, um, like I was maybe one of like 3 or 4 women that were really like working, at a national level in the field. And um, and you begin to be able to see how the communication strategies of people that were just raised under like different gender constructs, or seek out the lessons of different gender constructs, how they message, how they experiment, how they engage with others, and what sort of reliance there is on an economic structure. And so, in many ways, I don't believe that gender itself makes that big of a difference in terms of like product lines,
Right.
but it does make a big difference in terms of sensibility and interests and relationship building. And we will also keep in mind that I am not the most feminine of ladies in the universe. So like, I feel like I can kind of play that game more easily than a lot of other cis women can. Um, but uh, but I think it's a big deal, and I would really like the hot sauce world to be able to expand. And I would like more women to be able to participate and feel like they can participate.
Absolutely.
But without losing any of the men who are doing like really interesting, great, but sometimes kind of like, aggressive and weird and bro-y
Yeah.
that are less fun. Um, One of the best things about doing like local farmers markets, especially around here, where there aren't a lot of people, and so there's not a lot of like socialization with like, you know, city ideas or whatever. I sound like a total rube, but kind of into a total rube. Um, is when girls approach my hot sauce table and they're like, "Well, I guess I've heard of hot sauce," or like, "My dad likes this stuff." And sometimes it's very young girls, like 8, 9,
Mhm.
and they're like, I would just like to try, something that's very mild and, like, you know, give me just a drop." And then you really just offer them the same sort of taste experience that you would offer anyone else, and they get so excited about the experiences they're having in their mouth area and how they what it kind of makes them think, and also, like, they see me just very openly and in a friendly way, engaging with all kinds of different people about this weird stuff that I make that they are kind of new to,
Mhm.
and it is the most fun thing in the world to be like, "You know what, kid? Like, you can grow up and you can make your own hot sauce, and that is a
Absolutely.
totally legitimate, like, future adult woman enterprise." Not that I do it in the most legitimate way, but it's an option.
I don't know. I love it, and I think that it is a space for everybody and anybody. So I really applaud you for standing out in that. Good
Yeah.
job. And so you go to a lot of farmers markets.
Yeah, there's a There are two farmers markets in this area that I really like. And around here, because it's a farming part of the world, and like strong, like there are entire towns named for different kinds of farm animals, like it's really central. And so there are two farmers markets that I really enjoy that are not even necessarily financially central, but I would probably go to them even if I weren't, vending things because they're just like the social hubs of this part of the world. But what you do end up doing is just building community and really, hanging out with other um, producers. There aren't a ton of other producers, but like growers and farmers and sheep farmers and, fermenters and
Right.
stuff like that.
It's the best. I love the farmers markets. We have one every Thursday down the street from here. I think it actually just finished for the year, but I go down there and they know who my partner and I are. And there's even a hot sauce vendor who I've had on the show before. But he sees me and he's like, "Hey," and I go over and talk to him for like probably 25 minutes each time I go. And I don't even. I usually will buy something because I like want to make my way down the line, but and then there's another one a few towns over that I went to for the first time. I was like, why have I
Mm.
not been to this? This one's huge. It's such a great experience. And even if you're not vending, I agree. A lot of it is really nice to get that sense of community from.
Yeah. I feel like it's been central to, moving from the city, which usually around here means New York, but I mean Chicago, to an area like this. I feel like it's A, part of why I decided to make the switch, but also B, like something that has been missing from my life since day one to like really just hang out and talk to the lady who grows the pigs that become breakfast bacon, or like the lamb guy or the pepper growers.
The pepper guy.
The pepper guy.
All right. I think it's time to taste a sauce, and
Let's do it.
we're gonna start with rain. I did taste this at the festival. I'm sorry, I don't remember, but I remember liking it enough to take it home. So
Good.
let's get to it. All right, we're gonna give it a nice shake here.
Good.
So my camera's got me good. Camera's got me. All right, her open. Oh, yeah. Ooh, I like that when you open it and the little like thing goes boop.
Yeah.
It smells really good. Oh yeah, the ingredients. Very, very simple ingredients, everybody. We got plums, arbol chilies, apple cider vinegar, ginger, maple syrup, and sea salt. Really, really good stuff. And I actually, maple syrup. I like that. I've always wanted to do that. It smells delightful, as expected. I have this little like poot on the top. There, you get that? You have that little poot on the top. Hold on, let me get this other shake. So I can get that down here. All righty, right. All right, we have the trusty spoon, freshly cleaned, and we will fill it up. I never know. I kind of usually go into this pretty blindly,
Mm.
and I know these are our balls, so I know they're not super, super hot.
Yeah.
I know. Flavor first, friends. And there we go. Mwah. Oh, yeah. The maple comes out really nicely in them. It's kind of like in the back, but it adds just like a touch of sweetness to it. Really, really nice. Woo. So I'll do another one. It has a nice little warmth to it. Yeah. All right. The light notes of plum too, which is the first ingredient. So I'm guessing you used a ton of plums for this.
Yeah. It takes a lot of plums. That is
Yeah.
one of the most annoying things
Yeah. I
about
was going to say That's gotta be a pain in the ass. You gotta, like,
Total
take the
pain.
pits out and everything.
Ugh, yeah.
There's gotta be an easier way for this. I actually really, really like this, and I'm just eating it now to eat it. That's what I remembered. Oh, yeah. That's fantastic.
Mm.
So what really were you aiming for when you made this sauce? Like, what flavor notes did you really aim to, put in the front there? Obviously, plum you wanted to be, but maple comes out
Yeah.
too.
Well, I that was actually one of the very first sauces I came up with, well before I started, doing this Tinkertown project. Um, and actually, when I started Tinkertown, I remember I had a small tasting party with like interested parties come over it to sort of help me figure out which to bring into development first. And and as I said, local people not used to hot sauce, they were like, "Do not that purple one, do not that's too hot. It's too there's not we can't do anything with it." And so I waited for a while um and didn't actually then, sort of formalize it. But then once I did, and I really started, paying attention to taste and trying to make it work, I couldn't develop a concept until I realized that, I went to high school in Minnesota, and if I if I played my cards right, I could kind of think of the Prince homage and think about it as a musical experience, right?
Mhm.
It's much more of an Asian, pan-Asian, but Chinese maybe mostly, notion is to put plums in hot sauce. But there was something about that kind of mix of cultural influences, and then the purple color that was coming through, and then the idea that I could use, ginger instead of garlic entirely. These all just gave me this, like, musical sensibility, and so I was really, like, listening to that one. That probably sounds insane, um, but I was, like, trying to hear it or imagine what it would be like to hear it. And so I was, playing with, like, volume of plums and volume of ginger and different sweeteners. Um, and the final recipe just ended up being something that, sounded to me kind of funky. There was kind of a good base. It worked with the Prince metaphor. And then it was also just wider than that.
Mm. That's funny. It's funny that you say that, like, Pan-Asian influence. It kind of reminds me, now that you mention it, of, like, a sweet, spicy umeboshi sauce. You know umeboshi?
I don't.
So it's just a Japanese pickled plum, and when
Okay.
you go and
Yep.
get, like, a bento box at a
Yep.
Japanese place, they put an umeboshi plum right on top, and they're really small, but it's kind of like a sour plum, and they pickle it, and they put it on there, and I'm not saying that rain totally tastes just like that, but it definitely gives me that vibe now that you mentioned, like, yeah, it's got a little bit of, sourness to it, but not in a bad way. It's very pleasant, very smooth.
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely fantastic, and, now I think I know what I wanna eat it with, and that's probably gonna be some, like, Asian-inspired dish.
Yeah.
Um,
I get a lot of feedback from folks about how rain really saved their crappy stir fry.
when those veggies start going bad, and you just fry 'em right up, you know?
Right.
Just sauce it up. Um, so how if you could describe rain in 3 words, how would you?
um,
Gotcha.
well, I would say funky, sweet, and hot, except that, I agree with you, it's actually not that hot. But
Yeah,
Prince is hot, so I still would use it.
purple rain, baby. Purple rain.
Exactly.
You offer many sauces too, and we slightly mentioned it before, but you have ones like magma, mud, lava, which we tried at the festival. That's your sriracha. Sea sparkle, blood. How do rain and haze fit into this broader line?
Well, rain is currently on the like the hotter half of what we're offering. It's also one of the more difficult for local palates to kind of grasp. And um so it is that is a sauce that is more popular when I travel with it, when I bring it
Okay.
elsewhere. I'm also going like hotcakes online, which makes kind of fits with that notion. Um, but because, it's something that I've been making or experimenting or thinking about for a long time, it feels really like central to um, the tastes that I want to put out in the world.
Mhm.
So I'm starting to experiment with like alternative versions with like yellow plums and with, hotter peppers and maybe not relying so much on sweeteners as I start to develop more and more. So it feels really central and fun, but it's still yeah, it's still like an exciting site for me to experiment with.
I really, really enjoyed that. Do you formulate each sauce with particular heat level or flavor arc in mind?
Can you repeat that?
I apologize.
No.
Do you formulate each sauce with a particular level of heat or flavor arc in mind?
Uh, I'm very into the mouth journey. So I do formulate each sauce with the idea that I want the succession of tastes to be exciting or to bring you to a place that you didn't know you were gonna go to. Um, but when I'm initially thinking about a new sauce, I primarily think about it in terms of color. Can it fill out my, you know, array of um, available colors? Am I bringing something new to the visual palette? Is it going to be interesting when I make the labels and have to
Mhm.
use any color for the, nature inspired name I'm going to give it? Um, so yeah, so there's the sort of color overarching like aim, but then there's the mouth journey part of it, which becomes a little bit more nuanced um and comes out in the experimental
Right.
phase.
Yeah, because you want the flavor to kind of match the vibe of the name, you know?
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Are there any like things you make seasonally or that you reserve for different seasons, or do you just kind of make stuff as you need it?
Um, I do. I have um maybe almost 3/4 of my line right now are seasonal sauces. And the idea is that I will be able to make them as the ingredients become available and then put them out into the world immediately. Sometimes that means we run out right away, like with or the sauce I was mentioning earlier. And I will eventually run out of sun, which is currently our hottest sauce. Um, and and I I could probably and will eventually probably plan in the future long enough out that I wouldn't have to do that, but I like the idea of keeping the production of the sauce seasonal to the growth of the primary ingredient. Because I want people to understand and feel some kind of connection with nature and feel some kind of understanding, even if it's annoying to them or it takes them a while to catch
Mhm.
on to this. Um, I want them to be aware of how the seasons flow in terms of like growing.
I like that. That's true, man. Everything, you know, we really take it all for granted. The short windows we have in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Um, and it goes back to ore where people are demanding it so much. It's like, I only have so much time for this. Like, I have to make what I can, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And people only have so much time for growing particular ingredients.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
the space required is yeah, a hefty investment.
100%. So are you working on any new flavors currently, or are you just kind of keeping it to your lineup? You can keep that a
I
secret if you wish too.
yeah, I have one sauce I've been working and working and working for about a year and a half. It's I right now the biggest holdup is having time. But I've made a couple, forays. I have some good ideas and I'm really excited about this one. I'm not going to tell you too much about it, but I'm really excited um about this kind of experimentation, which is really like um and that's the other thing I feel like I need from my sauces is that the assumption that you make when you look at the sauce itself should um not be matched by the experience of the sauce. So I want it to be this like adventure, right? Like with Haze, you're like, whatever, it's a standard like orange hot sauce, but actually each element hits your mouth at a different time and in a different way. And then it hits it, and then it ends up sort of accidentally falling back into heat. And so that like goofy, janky, weird thing feels very local in terms of like that feels like a very local hot sauce. And so but I want that experience to happen more. I want it to be like, oh, here's a standard yellow sauce, which is obviously not that hot because yellow is, you know, a a, a chill color, and we
Right.
don't have to worry about it too much. And then once you taste it, being like, oh wow, I regret that.
I messed up.
Yeah.
I actually tried a yellow sauce yesterday.
Mm.
Or was it 2 days ago? I tried one. I actually just put the video up today. Totally
Hmm.
off topic, but it was
Please
really
tell.
good. It was like a mustard. It was like a Caribbean style mustard hot sauce with fatali peppers, which are hot, and
Yeah.
from this company Monkey Junk out of North Carolina. Really cool
Oh,
dude.
nice.
But yeah, like it took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting it to be as spicy as it actually was, because again, you you kind of look at yellow and you're like, oh, it's bright. It's not gonna be that bad.
Yeah.
It's gonna be kind of nice ride. And it was a nice ride. It was just hot, But
Yeah.
it was really good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Um,
I love those fatali peppers.
yeah, they're really spicy.
Hmm.
So I think we're gonna crack into Haze now. We
Let's
got
do it.
Haze.
I kind of spoiled it for you. I apologize.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I actually forgot. I'm gonna back up for a second because you have blurbs on the bottles, and I don't feel right trying them without reading the blurb.
Okay.
So we're gonna just rewind a little bit back to rain for a second here. A hot sauce. Hot, sweet, melodic, and funky. This irresistible plum sauce wants to be your fantasy. It could even F the taste out of your mouth. Maybe you should give your folks a call? Interesting.
Mm.
I you know
Those
what?
are all Prince quotes.
Well, okay, okay,
Yeah.
that's
The
really
devoted fan will read those and be like, oh, yeah, I should
oh
give my
my
folks a
god.
call.
Yeah,
Say,
I know some Prince, I'm not a huge fan. I mean, I don't dislike everything I've heard, I've just never deep dived into it, you know what I'm saying? But
yeah, you're a
I
normal,
I I
regular
I
person that has
no.
probably improved taste in music. But yeah,
I don't know. I don't even like my own taste in music, so but no, I do like what I've heard of Prince. Anyways, when doves cry, my friend, when doves cry.
um,
All right, so now we're going to We're fast forwarding back to Haze. And we'll go over the blurb first. A zippy hot sauce. Elusive, tart, and surprising, this complex orange pink sauce lingers on the tongue, but might sting your eyes. Cravings may appear from nowhere, but fret not. This seasonal sauce will always be back. Seasonal. Hey, tying it back around again. And for the ingredients, we have rhubarb, vinegar, lemon juice, arbol chilies again, honey, ginger, rock salt, and magnesium carbonate. What is magnesium carbonate?
Yeah, magnesium carbonate was it's like a separator that they used in the first batch of salt that I got.
Ah, okay.
That I have since, yeah, moved away from using so that I can
Okay.
concentrate on rock salt. But um, yeah,
Just curious.
turns out to
I
also not be bad for you.
good.
Yeah,
That's what's important. And
yeah,
this is a thicker hot sauce. This is thick. I have to shake the hell out of it. So,
yeah. It's yeah, a lot of solids. Not so many liquidous ingredients in that one.
but it's zippy. All
It
right.
is zippy.
Oh, it smells wild. I don't think I've ever had rhubarb in a hot sauce before either. That's actually really cool.
There we go.
It smells crazy. Ginger. I smell the ginger. I can smell the lemon juice, like the sourness of it. All right, let's see here. Trusty spoon, once again cleaned off. And we will give it a poot. It doesn't want to come out. Come on.
Sometimes I don't.
That's okay. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna get like a blob. Ain't I? There we go. I think it's moving now. Oh my goodness, Anne. Anyways. You know what I have? For such emergencies, toothpicks.
Nice.
Get the juices flowing a little bit.
Yeah. It is, I mean, that is the consistency thing is something I would like to improve at.
If it tastes good, you do.
Mhm.
I just think some bottles aren't hot sauce friendly. There we go. There we go. Now we got it. All right. So as you can see, I have a nice poot. And now I will take said poot and put it in my mouth. Oh, it's creamy. Hmm. That's super interesting. I don't know how to describe that yet.
No, I don't know that I do either, and I've been working with it for a long time.
It is zippy.
Uh-huh.
Um, Kind of reminds me of A1. That's yeah,
Really?
a little
Yeah,
bit
makes
on the
sense.
back end. On the back end, thickness wise, but hmm,
Yeah, there's a
I like
similar,
it
like,
better.
almost umami
Yeah, yeah,
sensibility
yeah.
to it.
It's super
Yeah.
savory. It is savory. Mm, yes, that's what I'm getting from it.
Mhm.
That's how you want to sell it. My A1, but it's better honestly because I don't really like A1. A1's too runny. I actually like how thick and creamy this is, even
Mm.
though it's kind of a pain in the butt to get out of the bottle. Not a criticism, just an observation. But I think the effort's worth it. It's really good. Not very hot, tangy, very umami, like you had said. And again, I've never had rhubarb in there. How's that for cooking with like that? Is that a
Yeah.
pain?
It's, I mean, it is a thing, and rhubarb is actually kind of a tricky thing as an ingredient because the pH of it shifts over the course of the season.
Okay.
So I don't necessarily recommend to hot sauce makers that they use it But, um, you know, if you're sort of careful about balancing your pH with, you know, vinegars or lemon, then you can make it happen. But what I like about that sauce is that under sweetened rhubarb, there's a really like vegetal sense to it. And so there's something about it that is alarming. And that's kind of, you know, that sauce is like it's it's zippy, and it's weird, but it's also like something that people are sort of constantly saying like, "Oh, I didn't I didn't know that was gonna happen." Uh, which is exactly what you want people to be saying. I don't know. That's what I want people to be saying, especially when they're trying a lot of hot sauces. For there to be one where they're just like, "What is going on in my mouth right now?"
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt. It's really
Yeah.
good. Rhubarb is such an interesting plant too. Did you know that they grow it in the dark a lot of the time because it grows faster in the dark and it grows at such a rate you can hear it growing?
Whoa, I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So they'll grow rhubarb in excuse me. Oh, back in the throat there.
Yeah,
Zippy.
yeah,
Um,
it is.
some farmers that grow it will actually grow it in like essentially like a basement kind of thing in the complete darkness. And you can go on YouTube and find it. If you look up rhubarb growing in the dark noises, it's just you can hear the plants growing so fast that they're cracking. It's
Super
the
interesting.
wildest. Yeah, I didn't.
I'm literally gonna do that later today.
You so should. You so should. So what's your favorite dish to use haze with, if you have one?
Yeah, Haze is my solution for things that have a lot, maybe too much, um, cheese, and of course, since I don't use, like, real, dairy cheese, it's like, uh, when you have added too much of your dairy-free, um, cheeses to your quesadilla, and you're just like, "I need maybe not quite so much." You know, oil and saturation and comfort. And Haze is the thing for me that just cuts right through all that.
I can see that, yeah, even, like, real cheese, using too much just kinda sucks. Um, so this is a good solution, everybody, Haze, please pick it up.
We're
Uh,
dealing with your cheese problem.
yeah. So, looking back at this whole thing since you started it, what's been, like, the biggest surprise or challenge for running this company, Tinkertown Provisions?
Um, I mean, it's all been kind of a nice challenge. I, you know, as a writer, um, my life looks very different. And when I go into that mode again, it will feel very different. Because of course you spend all of your time alone in a room, and then when the book comes out, you go and you talk to everyone for 3 months, and you do, you know, interviews constantly, and you're sort of constantly around. And then you cannot talk to anyone again until the next book comes out a year or 2 year later. But with hot sauce, it's intensely social, and it takes, you know, all of my faculties to, like, create the sauce and think about the sauce and then communicate that, and then, like, graphic design skills for labels, and then, like, it's physical labor, and so I think the sheer, um, volume of things that I accomplish in a day with Tinkertown, I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do it, but also I was like, "Oh, no, everything you just sit at a computer, type, 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 type,"
Yeah.
and later it emerges. That's not how hot sauce works.
No, it's funny because I've talked to a couple people, on the show that are, quite introverted, and going into this, is total culture shock for them because they just, all right, now I have to sell this thing I made. I can't just do online. I got to go to festivals and stuff. But then
Yeah.
I do know some people that have pretty much been successful solely online, they'll really do that. So, no, it's kudos for you because you're totally not used to that realm, and you're like, now I had to put myself out there.
Yeah, I like it. I am a social person. I wouldn't consider myself a total introvert.
Hmm.
But I am shocked how quickly I adapted to being a total extrovert.
Yeah,
And I, you know, do enjoy it, but I probably wasn't ready when I started.
right.
It took me a bit to like catch up to
Yeah,
how social it is. And also, of course, like everybody's great. It's a really fun community of people to work in. So you want to talk to them.
absolutely. And I am not, I'm much like you. I'm not very introverted, but I'm not super extroverted. But years ago, I played music. I was did bands. I'd go out playing clubs and stuff with my friends, and I would go home and I just would completely be a, shut in. But when I was out at the clubs, it's a very social thing to do. So, I feel like, I guess what I'm getting at is a lot of it is the setting where you feel comfortable enough to be extroverted, where like
Yeah.
sometimes you
Yeah,
just kind
that's
of want to
true.
be in your own realm.
Yeah.
And, you know, how do you hope your customers feel or remember after using one of your products?
Um, I mean, honestly, I want customers to feel two things. And the first is just like cared for, you know? I want them to feel like they are experiencing something that, um, concern and thought and intention across all ranges of the hot sauce experience, um, is done so that they will feel it.
Mhm.
And then the other thing that I want them to connect that to is this land, this part of the world, um, because it is uniquely beautiful, which maybe you can't tell in the hot sauce, but it has a unique um, set of agricultural abilities that you can definitely taste. And so, I want it to feel like a representation of this part of upstate New York, which is a pretty, um, economically uh, challenged, under resourced community that just happens to like really quietly be doing all this great stuff with growing food. And I want that to come across as well.
It's awesome. It's excellent. I like that you like really try to, get involved with the community with this. And you really want to bring it
Yeah,
up.
it feels really central. I
Yeah.
don't know why I would do a food thing that had nothing to do with the people that were actually making the food come out of the earth.
And for one last question for you, Anne, thank you so much for your time.
For sure.
For anyone new to your sauces, which one do you suggest they try first?
I even if someone comes to my table and they're like, "I want the hottest sauce," which, a lot of cis
Of
men do.
course.
Um,
Yeah.
I and a lot of young boys also too,
Yeah, of
which is
course.
adorable. I pretty much will, you know, as pleasantly as possible, bully them into trying Sea Sparkle first,
Mhm.
because it is the mildest sauce, but by far our most popular. And it does taste like a mermaid party in your mouth, which is not an experience that makes sense until you eat it and you're like, "Whoa, it's tingly." And I feel,
Mm.
like I'm on an exotic beach somewhere and there's like beautiful women in clamshell bikinis. And um and that's just such a like a fun sauce that could be difficult to taste if you've had anything stronger, but also it's usually the one, even the like hardcore, like give me a hot sauce dudes are like, oh, actually though, this is the thing. This is
Yeah.
what I came here to try.
Right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Exactly. Because
Yeah.
there's flavor behind the fire, and there's a story behind every bottle, a story behind every company. And I think they're all worth hearing, including yours, my friend. Um, I'm going to give these a try again. But while I'm doing that, I'd like you to tell listeners where they can find you and any shout outs or anything you feel like you need to say before we wrap this up. Would love to hear it.
Wonderful. I mean, the big thing, of course, is the website, tinkertownprovisions.com. You can order anything in the lower 50s. How do we talk about the domestic US anymore? I don't know. I guess I tend not to in any way. We do ship. And that's great. And if you want international products or products sent internationally, you can find us on the Fair Market as well. And of course, on Instagram, we're Tinkertown Provisions. And we also have a phone number. If for some reason you want to call us up and leave a message, you can do that. You can just call us up and leave a message about how much you love Sea Sparkle, which we did have someone do, and you can actually hear that on the podcast at some point
Oh,
if you want to. Um, but yeah, those are all the ways of contacting us. Those are all the ways of finding our sauces. We'll be at Saucetoberfest coming up in New Jersey in a couple of weeks. We'll be at the Great Food Expo, also in New Jersey, in a couple weeks. I don't know why I'm so concentrated on New Jersey these days, but I mean, and it's going to be a ton of fun. So I hope people come out and say hi, and that they say to me, "Hey, I heard you on Matt's podcast. Isn't he the best?" And
oh,
I'll be like, "He is."
oh, everybody. And Elizabeth Moore, thank you so much for your time. You've been an absolute pleasure, and I really, really, really loved this conversation having you today. So thank you so much.
Me too. Can't wait to hear it.
Awesome. Peace, everybody.